Another coaching hire for the Houston Texans. Obviously, they got rid of Gary Kubiak. A lot of coaches have been fired, but they certainly got a leg up. Though it is a tad surprising, Bill O'Brien was hired to become the next head coach of the Houston Texans. He took over the Penn State football team in a horrible, horrible situation following the Jerry Sandusky scandal, you could say, at Penn State. But he came from the Patriots. Let me ask both of you. We've seen it with Josh McDaniels. We've seen it with Romeo Crennel. We've seen it with Eric Mangini and a few others. That if they come from the Patriots, they're a really good coach. There's this sort of feeling and this sort of spirit within them that it's like, oh, he came from Belichick, he has to be a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, Josh McDaniels being talked about by the Browns now as a possible head coach,
which I would not do.
I don't know that Romeo Crennel was such a great coach, but the
Charlie Weiss.
We can safely say he wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Right.
Nor was Charlie Weiss. Yeah,
and nor was Charlie Weiss. That's true. But so
these are failed head coaches under a great head coach, a historically great head coach.
Right, who also was fired by the Browns.
Yeah, yeah, he was. Good point.
But listen, he has the most graceful exit in the history of Penn State coaches, so that's good. That's one thing for Bill O'Brien. I don't know enough to say whether he's the best hire. So many people seem to want him. I don't know much about the coaching trees of Bill Belichick. They're defensive coaching trees generally, as opposed to the Bill Walsh coaching tree, which is
except for Bill O'Brien, though, because he is known for basically making Matt McGloin.
Yeah,
I mean, he got a chance.
And McDaniels too. I'm talking about the successful
Sure.
But in any case, that's true. He seemed a logical hire.
Here's why there's a ton of respect for Bill O'Brien. He inherited a 4-year postseason ban, lost 40 scholarships. Players could transfer without sitting at all, so it was just an easy exit. He took over the program not only with the Sandusky scandal, but Joe Paterno was fired.
What was his record at Penn State?
15-9.
8-4, first year, 7-5 the second year.
So it's at 15-9?
Yeah. Okay. With a team, with a team that many predicted
overachieved.
Many predicted to have 4 wins, 5 wins tops.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. But did you read the Deadspin piece on Bill O'Brien?
I did not.
This is the greatest thing in the world. Now, there are 2 reactions to this piece. Either, and you'll have to get a graphic for this, you'll enjoy this.
Yeah, sure.
So, either Bill O'Brien is a great guy or a giant douchebag.
Can you share?
I come out very clearly on, let me read it to you.
Okay, all right, fine, go ahead.
So, about a month ago, he had a conversation with a reporter named David Jones from the Associated Press, a conversation that was off the record, which Jones has now determined is now on the record because he has now left. Right?
Oh, really? So Jones is saying because he's no longer the coach?
I don't know. Well, let's leave out the semantic. Let's assume Jones is doing the right thing for the purposes. The interesting thing is what he said.
Okay.
So he spoke with him to discuss the departure of longtime assistant Ron van der Linden. Mm-hmm. Right now, van der Linden was one of he was like a holdover from the Paterno era, right? And he left, whether he got fired or resigned. Okay. So Jones deduced that the firing or resignation was based on coaching styles, and he asks Bill O'Brien if O'Brien was concerned about a blowback from, quote, Joe Paterno era loyalists, right? Yeah. Who saw van der Linden as a bridge to that time, and here's how O'Brien responded.
I heard this. Okay, yeah, this is great.
You can print this, says O'Brien. You can print that I don't really give a fuck what the Paterno people think about what I do with this program. He might have said shit, but I'd like to think it was fuck.
Right.
I've done everything I can to show respect to Coach Paterno, everything in my power. So I could really care less about what the Paterno faction of people, or whatever you call them, think about what I do with the program. I'm tired of it. For any Paterno person to have any objection to what I'm doing, it makes me want to put my fist through this windshield right now. And then it points out he was just getting started. I'm trying to field the most competitive football team I can with near death penalty fucking sanctions. Every time I say something like that and somebody prints it, it's skewed as an excuse. And I'm not an excuse maker. I'm trying to do the best I can for the kids in that program. That's all I care about is the kids in that program, as long as I'm the football coach here. Then he goes on, which was described in Deadspin. Here's the money quote. That's why in probably about a month, they're going to be fucking looking for a new coach. So there's some, he reads comments, which of course not a reflection of society as a whole, but the Penn State people are like, what a classless douchebag. Right. And I think what a great, honest guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
These people that are sentimentalists and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, it was a disaster what happened with Paterno. And even if Paterno exited in a perfect manner, to just sort of talk about the Paterno people, the Paterno era, this era, it is a new era. And that's what happens. You fire someone.
Following a legend is
not easy.
And there are a few people who are legends to that extent. I mean, it's really like following John Wooden, and 2 guys were incredibly succecul at it, and they quit because they couldn't handle it. And they won 50 games in 2 years.
No, 49ers fans, because I know this with Steve Young. I mean, Steve Young, I'm not talking about the coaching. I'm talking about the player,
quarterback. Yeah.
The quarterback. When Joe Montana left, Steve Young didn't get a fair shake by the fans or the media or anybody. You could see the frustration, and people would say, "Oh, why isn't he nicer to Joe Montana? Why isn't Joe Montana?" Well, first of all, they competed, and now he's a quarterback, and he's so tired of Joe Montana.
Yes.
He probably thinks he's better than Joe Montana, which he should.
And to some extent, it makes you rethink like Aaron Rodgers and whether Rodgers was like, when Favre wanted to come back, was Rodgers a jerk? Rodgers was like, hey, enough.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah, exactly.
You said you were leaving. I'm in charge now.
Exactly.
You can only be graceful for such a long period of time.
Yeah, so you can't blame Bill O'Brien for getting mad at all and finally speaking his mind, because not only did he know that he was leaving, but the fact that it seems like this was built up from day one, ever since he inherited a horrific
He later
program.
took it back to the guy. He called the reporter. He was like, look, I'm not going anywhere. But whatever. He's like, it's an untenable. What he did almost is perfect for Penn State.
Yeah.
Now they only got 2 years of sanctions left, right? He's put them on a road to respectability.
Could not have put them in a better position.
And now the next coach they hire is following Bill O'Brien and Joe Paterno.
Exactly, which is great
right.
too.
Which
and
could be
listen,
Greg
the Dom
Schiano.
Capers loyalists in Houston are going to have a tough time with this guy.
Greg Schiano, Mike Munchak, if he does not stay at Tennessee,
I think
are
we'll
2
know
candidates.
that shortly.
Probably.